Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live broadcast, switching from manual to automated NGS library preparation, presented by Tim Schommartz and Marc-Manuel Hahn, Application Specialist, Liquid Handling, Eppendorf. I am Kaylee Bach of Labrys, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. Today's educational web seminar is brought to you by Labrys and sponsored by Eppendorf. For more information on our sponsor, please visit eppendorf.com. Now let's get started. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that this event is interactive. We encourage you to participate by submitting as many questions as you want at any time you want during the presentation. To do so, simply type them into the Ask a Question box and click on the Send button. We'll answer as many questions as we have time for at the end of the presentation. If you have trouble seeing or hearing the presentation, click on the Support tab found at the top right of the presentation window, or report your problem by clicking on the Answer a Question box located on the far left of your screen. This presentation is educational and thus offers continuing education credits. Please click on the Continuing Education Credits tab located at the top right of the presentation window and follow the process to obtain your credits. We have two presenters for you today, Dr. Tim Schommartz and Dr. Marc-Manuel Hahn. Dr. Schommartz works as an application specialist for automated liquid handling at the Eppendorf Headquarter in Hamburg, Germany. He studied molecular life science in Germany and Singapore, focusing on the influence of anti-inflammatory antibodies on allergies to autoimmune diseases during his master thesis. Tim Schommartz holds a PhD in chemistry, working in the field of virology. He joined Eppendorf in 2016, having a broad background in different workflows, ranging from molecular biology, cell and infection biology, to immunology and biochemistry. Dr. Hahn works as an application specialist for automated liquid handling at the Eppendorf Headquarter in Hamburg, Germany. Marc Hahn holds a PhD degree in medical sciences. Before joining Eppendorf, he worked as a sequencing application specialist at Macrogen Inc. in Amsterdam. Welcome, doctors. You may now begin your presentation.
Thank you very much, Kaylee, for this kind introduction. So I'm going to start off this webinar, and I will provide the user's perspective to this end of the story because of my background in next-generation sequencing. But before doing so, I want to start off with giving a brief overview why this technique called next-generation sequencing, or abbreviated NGS, is so important to us all. Coming to the trends in NGS. As you can see from this slide, NGS has been tremendously important for me, and I'm sure to a lot of people in our audience as well. This technique has, after its introduction in 2008, led to a tremendous drop in the cost of per base sequencing, as shown here by the blue line in this chart, which has even superseded the famous Moore's law in semiconductor industry. That means the cost of sequencing is actually going down even more per year, and it's becoming more and more affordable. Another very recent trend that I have witnessed in the industry and that has made it much more easy for everybody to sequence their samples is that also the sequencers are getting cheaper and cheaper by the year. We are now, with 2018, with the introduction of the iSeq by Illumina, which only costs around $20,000. It's much, much easier to sequence a sample, and the technology is readily available. This has had a very strong impact on the publication community out there, where more and more publications in the science world are relating to the topic of next-generation sequencing, as shown here in the graph. And most likely, this peak has not been reached yet, as this technology is becoming more and more readily available with the introduction of new kits and more easily achievable. But unfortunately, I have to tell you from my very own experience, it's not so easy to have these NGS workflows in the labs, and there are some pain points. Sometimes I really look back to these good old days where you just had a very simple qPCR setup to, for instance, query your expression levels of a certain gene, where you would just here indicate on the left-hand side, purify your RNA sample, and then do a normalization, do a cDNA synthesis, and just a qPCR setup to query any gene you would have been interested in. Ultimately, NGS now makes it much easier to query all genes at one specific time point, meaning that it's less biased. However, the workflows also got much more complicated. So now, starting, of course, from the purified RNA, I actually have to follow this up to prepare my NGS experiment by purifying the mRNA even more, then do a fragmentation, synthesize the first strand in the cDNA, then do a second strand synthesis, do another B purification, prepare an A-tailing reaction, ligate my adapter, then put it on my PCR cycler again to do an amplification, do another B purification, quantify MQC, and then finally I can actually start my NGS experiment. So overall, this procedure takes a lot of my time in the lab to get things going. And it's not only that. Whenever I'm actually working with these NGS samples in a manual kind of way, it really takes a lot of my attention, because I really have to sit there for 2 to 3 days, follow up to 140 steps in this TruSeq stranded mRNA protocol, and I'm always thinking, what happens if something goes wrong? I spent $2,000 on this entire kit and even more, so if something goes wrong, these failures quickly amount for lost time and costs. So I'm really sometimes wishing I had things more standardized and more easily available in the assay. And I don't only see this for this single method, but a lot of my peers, they're actually coming to me and they're telling me like, hey, I need to sequence more samples. I need to have more multi-layered data on those samples because the cost is going down. It's going quicker and quicker, and we also want to have these data with a high quality. And on the other hand, as we saw on the first slide, the sequencers, the chemistry, they are becoming much more readily available. And in between the supply and the demand, in the middle, there is this tiny bottleneck, which is called the library prep, where I need to spend several days in the lab, and that is a really big pain point for me. So Tim, do you maybe know what we can do about that?
Yeah, Mark, very not. So this is why I'm here, basically showing you the Eppendorf NGS solution. So we here at Eppendorf, we have thought a lot about all those pain points that you have described, and that not only you are experiencing, but a lot of NGS customers out there are experiencing, and I also assume that a lot of the people in our audience are experiencing the very same problems. So this is why we come up with a strategy to make NGS library preparation easier, more intuitive, and also more reproducible for the user. So in principle, during the next couple of minutes, I would like to show you, Mark, what I would suggest you how to widen this bottleneck, how to overcome this discrepancy between supply and demand, which has been the library preparation. And what we here at Eppendorf have is the so-called NGS library preparation solution. So we are not only offering a single device, telling you, okay, take this device and then figure out what you want to do with it. We are offering a full solution for NGS library preparation, consisting of the entire instrumentation and also high quality, low bind consumables, all coming from one manufacturer. So the only thing, Mark, that you have to do is you have to add your reagents, you have to add your samples and get started. And if you think that you would like to need some more help from us here at Eppendorf, from our experts in the different countries or from our headquarter, we also offer premium services to support you both on-site and remote. So let's take a closer look at what we think is the perfect solution for NGS library preparation. And I want to mainly focus on the automation part, which is the EP motion. So I'm coming from the automation, and this is why I will emphasize a lot on the capabilities of this great device. So the two devices that I want to present you here are the EP Motion 5075 and its smaller sister, the EP Motion 5073. So the EP Motion 5075 is our full-scale NGS library automation system with 14.5 deck positions. The great thing is that you can still fit it on a benchtop. So it's easy to set it up, it doesn't need high voltage, and it fits into most standard labs. It is one system which does fit all of your NGS needs. The great thing is that we do have a large number of already qualified methods. I will come to that in a minute. It uses an intuitive but yet very powerful software, which is both easy to operate, but also gives you as a user a lot of options. I will also dig a little bit deeper into that. If we take a look at the EP Motion 5073, you can use it as a small-scale NGS library automation system for standalone use, but it is also a great companion for the EP Motion 5075. So you could think about things like splitting up your pre- and post-PCR processes by using a EP Motion 5073 together with the EP Motion 5075. The EP Motion 5073 comes at a very attractive price, and it uses the same powerful software as its larger sister, the EP Motion 5075. I will focus during that talk on the EP Motion 5075, and I will highlight a number of features the system has and why those features are so useful for NGS library preparation. So here you can see the system. As you see, it's a fully enclosed automated liquid handler with different pipetting tools, a gripper, and an integrated waste. It is externally operated by a touch screen monitor system. So we do offer tools which are working at an unrivaled high pipetting accuracy and precision. Eppendorf has a long history in building pipettes, and we have taken that knowledge and put it into an automated liquid handler. So we have high precision and accuracy in a volume range from 0.2 to 100 microliters in a single pipetting step. We do have on-deck thermomixing, which is great for these tedious bead washing steps that you have described, Mark. So we can mix beads on the system with up to 2000 RPM for a very homogeneous bead solution. We are very flexible in the number of samples you use. So with our new software, we can apply the automated tool exchange, which allows a quick change between multi and single channel tools, which both, it speeds up your process and it gives you additionally more sample flexibility. So every morning when you step into your lab, when you start with your work, you can decide how many samples you want to run today. without having a big effort. The software is flexible and very easy to use, and it allows you also every day to adjust single method steps if needed. Just imagine one day you want to have longer or shorter incubation times. You can simply adjust those steps with a few clicks. We have a touch-free detection of volumes which are used with the system, for example, wash buffer, and we have a touch-free scanning of the labware that you put on the deck, which both ensures safety and comfort. So the system always makes sure before the run that all the labware is put in the right position, that all the labware is where it should be, and that there are sufficient amounts of liquids provided in order to fully automate your process. Our system works with contact-free dispensing, which means that as opposed to a manual pipette, the liquid will not be transferred by touching a vessel wall or by entering another liquid. It will be dispensed with high velocity, contact-free, which both ensures perfect mixing of liquids and is a contamination-free system. We have on-deck heating and cooling for the very important enzymatic reactions during NGS library preparation. This drastically increases your walk-away time, and you can always be sure, Mark, that your samples are safe and protective because the system is fully housed and it comes with an optional HEPA clean air filter and UV sterilization. The great thing about the EpMotion is that it is an open platform for application automation. So it is compatible with a wide variety of NGS library preparation workflows from different distributors. But it's not only restricted to NGS library preparation. The system is also capable of doing, for example, nucleic acid preparation. And also there, we do support kits from a lot of different distributors. It is the ideal supplement to Covaris in the TruSeq Nano and Agilent protocols because we can fill and empty Covaris strips. And it is the perfect system for small and medium-scale labs without any experience in automation whatsoever, because the system is easy to use, it's fast to set up, and it has a very intuitive software. So I would say that really everybody can use the EpMotion automated liquid handler. Looking at NGS protocols, so if I remember back at my times where I did my PhD, my professor always told me that if you show a slide with a lot of different things, with long lists, with tables, it's basically to show off. And yes, I apologize to my audience, this slide is to show off, because I would like to present you that the EpMotion has the most Illumina qualified methods on a single automated liquid handler. So all of the methods that you can see here on the left-hand side are officially qualified by Illumina. We do have a few other methods which are qualified by our customers. But we are not only able to automate Illumina NGS library preparation protocols. We can also automate protocols of other reagent providers, as for example Roche or New England Biolabs. Also here we have officially qualified and customer qualified methods. And if you really stumble across a method that we have not qualified or automated yet, you can always just contact us and ask us if this method can be automated on the EpMotion. And in most of the cases, the answer will be yes, we can do it. So you can be sure that you get your customized method from us. Okay, but what are the general advantages of lab automation? And there are some things that one want to consider, which not only apply for automated NGS library preparation, but for lab automation in general. So first of all, we give you a system which is very versatile. So besides the NGS library preparation, you can automate your everyday liquid handling steps like cherry picking, PCR setup, nucleic acid purification. But not only that, it's not restricted to simple liquid handling or tasks which deal with nucleic acid. The system can also be used as a cell culture maintenance system, or you can automate your ELISA setup. You can also increase your throughput. The system is capable of running up to 96 samples per run, depending on the protocol. So you can increase your throughput without losing any accuracy and precision in the pipetting. And for me, one of the most important things is actually that an automated liquid handler works error-free. So there's one thing, Mark, and we have to face it, is that the major source of pipetting errors in the lab, it's not the pipette itself, it's not the tips, it's not the calibration, it's mainly the pipette user. And I think we all know the situation where you were setting up a 96 well plate, for example, you were pipetting at position B7, and then somebody, one of your peers, bumps into the lab, asks you a question, you look up for a second, you look back at your plate, and you have no idea where you stopped. You have no idea whether you add your reagents, you have no idea whether you already add your sample, and in the worst scenario, this can risk your whole experiment. And this is one of the biggest strengths of lab automation, because the robot will not forget the position it has been, and the robot will not be interrupted by one of your peers popping into the room. There's one thing I've stumbled across which I thought is kind of fascinating, is that in 2000 the average attention span of a human was about 12 seconds. Now with our smartphones and social media, it has dropped to about 8 seconds, and the average attention span of goldfish is 9 seconds. So this is just to illustrate you that even if you think that you are like fully concentrated on the task, you can be very quickly distracted, which can cause an error, and this is especially with expensive NGS library preps where samples might be limited, where reagents are expensive. This is definitely something that you want to avoid. Of course, an automated liquid handler allows you to track your sample all along the process. What happened to your sample? Where did you start with? Where did you end up with? It does increase your productivity because it frees your time, Mark, to spend on more important tasks than repetitive bead washing steps. So you can go, you can read a paper, you can submit your next paper to Nature or Science instead of doing bead washing steps. Also, an automated liquid handler does offer you contamination prevention. So our EPMotion is fully enclosed, if I have shown you. It comes with a HEPA filter and UV sterilization if wanted. We have contamination-free contact dispensing. Our tools can be autoclaved, and we have high purity grades of our consumables. So, and this ensures both the safety of the user, but most important, the safety of your precious samples. So, one part, of course, is the hardware. It's what I have talked about a lot during the last slides, but another very important part is the software. And in order not to show you more slides about the software, I thought about sharing my screen and showing you the software live. So I apologize, there might be a little bit of a delay between me clicking on something and something happening on the screen. but I will try my best to guide you through our very intuitive software. So since this will really just be like a sneak preview of the software, I would recommend you our previous webinar at LabRoots, which is called Intuitive and Easy Programming of Liquid Handling Tasks with the EpMotion, which can be found at the LabRoots homepage as well as on YouTube. So if you really want to dive deep into how easy it is to program something with the EpMotion, just take a look at this webinar, and you can learn a lot about the EpMotion. Okay. So now I'm sharing my screen. So what you can see here is the EpBlue software, which is our operating software for the EpMotion. So let us straight jump into one of our qualified protocols. In order to do that, I simply go to the application editor. Then from the right-hand side, I choose my application, which is NGS. And hey, Mark, I'm thinking about this protocol you were telling me about, the two-side stranded mRNA from Illumina, which you were struggling with, right? So let's take a look if we do have this protocol here. So I go to Illumina, and oh, surprise, surprise, I do have a folder called two-side stranded mRNA. Let's take a look at it. And yes, we do have a qualified method for this protocol. The whole protocol has been subdivided into 3 different parts, as you can see here, so-called sub-methods. And in order to show you how those methods look, I will jump straight into one of those sub-methods, which is method 2. So let me get into this method. Okay. Now I'm showing you this method, and you can see that this is how the software looks and how it displays the method. So on the right-hand side, you can see a depiction of the work table, which is basically you can imagine a depiction of your lab space. And on the left-hand side, you can see the opened application. So here on the work table, you can see what you have to put on the work table in order to get the method running. So you can see a lot of tips that we need, and you can see a number of PCR plates that will be used, our reagents and our adapters. So let's just assume that you want to change something here. It is actually very simple, and I will show you that. So let's say you want to put your tips not at this position, but at another position. So you can simply drag and drop it, move it forth and back. If you want to put something else on the work table, for example, a second waste reservoir, just go to your labware that you want to use. Here, for example, a tub. We take a reservoir, we drag and drop it, we give it a nice name, let's call it waste 2, and we're done. So now we have put it on the work table. If you don't want to use it, you can just remove it. Okay, so this is the work table. We have a second part, which are the so-called procedures. So these are steps, just like in a protocol, which are done subsequently. And as you can see here, for our two-side stranded mRNA protocol, these are a number of steps which we have pre-programmed for you. But just imagine that you want to change something. So, for example, you want to change the temperature for the A-tailing. You can simply click on this step, and you can change the temperature to, let's say, 36 degrees, as easy as that. Let me show you one other thing. So things that a lot of times get changed is the pattern of the used adapters. So here we put a comment, user intervention, which tells you that you should review steps 31 and 32 in order to adjust the use of your adapters. So let's do this. We can just scroll down to step 31 and 32. We can click on this liquid handling step, and we can change our pattern. So let's say I want to have my adapter in A6 go to A1, and B6 go to A2, and so on and so forth. All right. So this was really just a short glimpse on the software. If you want to learn more about it, I would really recommend you our previous webinar. There I'm telling you how easy it is to program your own methods and how methods are built up of simple liquid transfer commands as well as processes, for example, weighting and mixing, simple transport and interaction commands. With this, I want to jump back to our slides. So I will stop sharing the screen share, and I will go back to the slides. So Mark, I hope at this position I could give you an insight about automation of NGS library preparation. And so what do you think?
Tim, this is so awesome. So that actually means I can save myself all of these trouble working in the lab, really spending hours worrying about everything and just forget about it, do my data analysis, and write my papers. And also, I think we discussed this before, right? You mentioned that this also works with all the other Eppendorf equipment I already have in my lab. So, like this really cool cycler I purchased last year, and which has this full complete touch functionality and is completely networked. And I really love this piece of equipment, right? It has this really great lid that prevents this evaporation, so I love it for my long-range PCRs. It has a very good temperature homogeneity over the entire block, meaning I don't get these really weird edge effects. And I can really use it to scale my application together with my EpBlue because I don't only need to use one cycler, but I can couple them actually in order to work together. And likewise, also these really cool twin-tag low bind plates that I've been using for years in my facility are still really in that protocol, so I can really still make use of them. I don't have to adapt anything in there. And I really have to say I'm very fond of these consumables because they, on the one hand, they have this very low retention surface, which is really advantageous with difficult samples. And on the other hand, they are very rigid. That means they do not deform, warp, and then mess up my experiments, but actually do have a very high performance built in them. And I believe you were also talking about this really cool Eppendorf application notes, where I actually can see that for my very sensitive RNA experiments, I can work with very low amounts and still get great results. So that means I have like a whole package that really rounds off that method. And I think also the last few weeks, while I was telling you about these manual issues that we're having in the lab, we really were also running through the methods, and you elucidated how it works. So on overall, I really see that my advantage, and also probably a lot of our listeners here, we also see their advantage in that it really transforms this really long workflow of 3 days into just 3 simple submethods, where I, at the most, do not spend 3 days in the lab actually doing the library preparation, but just have something like 30 minutes hands-on time, and then we'll run through the protocol in 11 hours. So I just have to maybe interrupt the method when I take stuff out of the cycler, put it back in. But for the rest, I can really forget about it. And we already saw really in a practical way that this actually really delivers great results. So I'm very, very content that even at the baseline of this protocol I was working with, the 100 nanogram, which is at the lower end of what is recommended to put in there, I really got great libraries without dimers and with really, really nice, unbiased size distributions. And also these size distributions were clustering very tightly, and I had a very nice yield to actually start off my sequencing run. So that's really, really, really awesome. So I think it's not only one thing, right? Actually, when I go for the EpiMotion, I can actually get like an entire package.
Yeah, that's true, Mark. That's the whole idea behind it. So the idea was to give you a solution package, to put things together which provide you with everything that you need except the reagents, so you just have to add them in order to get started right away. So what we have as our NGS solution package is our EpiMotion 5075, which has the built-in thermomixing module as well as an additional thermo module for your enzymatic steps, which allows on-deck purification and incubation and increases your walk-away time drastically. The system already comes with all the tools needed. So it comes with the gripper to transport your low-wine plates. It comes with a 50 microliter and 300 microliter multi- and single-channel tools, which will cover a volume range from 1 microliter up to 300 microliter in a single pipetting step. And talking about pipetting and low wine plates, this package also includes our quality automation tips as well as low wine consumables to get you started right from the beginning. We will provide you with our brand new EpBlue 40.6 software, which comes with enhanced features. So you have the full flexibility, you have our new notification system, you have a very robust software to also modify your processes. We have improved our walk-away times, and we have further improved our flexibility by the automatic tool selection. But still, even if this is called NGS solution package, don't forget that you will get a device which remains a general purpose machine, which allows you to automate a lot of different lab tasks that you do every day. If you are interested in it, it comes in the CleanCap version with a HEPA clean air filter and UV sterilization. And don't worry about your accessories, because the system will have all the accessories needed in order to deal with semi-skirted plates, micronic tubes, and your reagent tubes. We do offer a lot of qualified methods, as I have told you, and they are available on request. So, Mark, if you want to get started, and guys, if you out there want to get started, the easiest way is to get in contact with us, to get in contact with your local Eppendorf representative. So we have offices in most of the countries out there. We have great support, and if you are in doubt, please feel free to ask all of the questions now during the webinar. We will answer all of your questions. You can also contact automation-support@eppendorf.de if you come up with one question after a good night of sleep. And with that, both Mark and me are at the end of our presentation. I hope that I could convince you, Mark, that success can be automated.
For sure, and I hope our listeners as well.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. We will welcome any questions you have now.
Thank you, Dr. Schommartz and Dr. Hahn, for your informative presentation. We will now start the live Q&A portion of the webinar. If you have a question you'd like to ask, please do so now. Just click on the Answer a Question box located on the far left of your screen. We'll answer as many of your questions as we have time for. Let's get started. Our first question is for Dr. Hahn. Dr. Hahn, one of our viewers states, I am usually only preparing a few samples at a time. What would be the benefit of using the EP motion?
Oh, thank you very much for that question. It's a really good question indeed. Because my colleague, Dr. Schommartz, actually said at the beginning of this presentation that with the EP motion you can scale up your production capacity. But it's really not only about that, because the machine does less errors and still features the flexibility you would also need for lower throughputs. So definitely when you would be considering doing a lower number of samples for your library preparation, you could also still benefit from the qualified methods. Plus, it has the added advantage that you do not really need to train anybody on the method that's already pre-programmed, but you could actually already start using that method the way it is without getting into too much depth about the protocol.
Thank you. Dr. Schommartz, our next question is for you. This states, how do I know when the machine is finished?
Well, sounds like a simple question, but it is actually a very good question. So once the machine is finished and you are close to the device, you are in the same room, you can hear a beep and it will show you a prompt where it tells you application successfully finished. This is all good and fine, but in a lot of cases, you will not be in the same room as the device. That's not the idea of automation, that you sit and watch the device working. So now with our new software, the 40.6 software, which is a brand new release, we have implemented a number of new comfort features, and among them is the email notification feature. So it means that your EP motion will send you an email to an email address of your choice telling you that an application has finished. But not only that, so this email notification can also be used if, for example, in the middle of the run you have programmed a step where you want to provide very delicate reagents, may it be light-sensitive reagents or something similar. So it will also send you a notification telling you, please add the requested reagent, so that you can sit on your desk, you can do your work, and the device will inform you when it needs any input. And I don't know if there are any listeners out there who are already working with an EP motion, and they might ask themselves, hey, that's a great feature, but I don't have it. Yes, that's true, because this is a feature which has just been added with our new software, and along this email notification feature, there are a number of other new and really exciting features. For example, the automatic tool selection, as well as tip box stacking and other things. So if you are interested in that, please feel free to contact us anytime, and we can walk you through all of those things in detail.
Thank you. Let's come back to you, Dr. Hahn, for the next question. I have multiple users in my lab. Can I only use the system for NGS?
Oh, that's also a really, really good question. Of course, in this webinar, we presented more or less our new NGS solution package. But that absolutely does not mean that the system is limited to next generation sequencing. Actually, we do have a lot of customers and methods where people have successfully used the EpiMotion for PCR setups, nucleic acid purifications, which was also what you saw in this very brief moment. My colleague opened the software and the different folders popped up. So that means also the system is very versatile. So as a capital equipment, it will be very easy to share among several users. And also it's the ease with which you can modify and generate simple methods on the EpiMotion actually makes it very open to other users that want to run different applications besides NGS. Besides this, also, of course, you may wish to have some kind of a user management, and the software will also allow you to do that very effectively. So in case the question is aiming at this part of the lab, there's absolutely no problem in generating several accounts and having several layers so that different users will be able to use the software at different levels. Thank you.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question.
Okay, we have time for one last question. Dr. Schommartz, let's have you answer this one. I have never used automation before. Can I get some special training?
Also a very good question indeed. It's a question we do get a lot of times because coming from manual liquid handling, this is at least what I've experienced, both with customers but also myself, that people are from time to time a bit reluctant when it comes to automation because they think, okay, this must be like horribly complicated and I need a degree in computer science or at least some hacking skills in order to operate the device. And first of all, I hope that I could convince you during this webinar that this is definitely not the fact. So the software is an easy drag and drop software, so it's intuitive, it's simple to use, it's simple to learn. And talking about learning the software, of course you are not alone with this. So if you want to play around and work it out using the manual, you can do so, but we offer qualified on-site trainings. So if you purchase an EpiMotion, it does come with an initial training of the software where you learn all the basic features, how you program the EpiMotion, how you operate it. We do offer another service which I think is absolutely great. So we call it application implementation, and this is really a customized service which is tailor-made depending on the process that you are doing. So for example, if you do NGS library preparation, one of our automation specialists will come to your lab and we will have an in-depth look at the application that you are running, and we will write a customized protocol for that very application where we introduce all of the steps that you want to introduce, where we adjust all of the timings, all of the labware according to your needs. This can also offer as some sort of automation consulting. So if you have a given workflow and you are not 100% sure whether it can be automated or not, you can contact us, and we can do the job. So we can automate it for you. We can get it to run on your EP motion. I'm not sure if this is where this question was aiming for, but I hope I answered it as good as possible.
Thank you again, Dr. Schommartz and Dr. Hahn. We are just about out of time. Do either of you have any final comments for our audience?
I just want to thank all of the listeners for tuning in, and I hope we have sparked your interest into the EP motion and in our Eppendorf NGS solution. And whenever you have any questions, even after the webinar, again, as my colleague mentioned, please feel free to tune in and just send us an email, and we will be there and get back to you. Also, for those questions we couldn't answer now in case the time was too short.
Yeah, there's really nothing much that I can add. I totally agree to my colleague. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and we hope to hear from you very soon.
Before we go, I'd like to thank the audience for joining us today and for their interesting questions. Questions we did not have time for today and those submitted during the on-demand period will be addressed by the speaker via the contact information you provided at the time of registration. We would like to thank LabRoots and our sponsor, Eppendorf, for underwriting today's educational webcast. This webcast can be viewed on demand through October 2018. LabRoots will alert you via email when it's available for replay. We encourage you to share that with your email and your colleagues who may have missed today's live event. Until next time, goodbye.